And we are recording again. Thank you very much for listening to the Weeknight Mysteries podcast. My name is Yoras. I am with my co-host, Rain.
As always, hello everyone.
Hi guys. Very grateful for all the listeners tuning in today and for all of the new listeners as well. Nice to have you here. I think last episode I already saw some people commenting that I've never seen before. So that's interesting.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. Like knowing that there's more people listening, and by the amount of likes that we get, at least on YouTube, because that's honestly the only gauge I have if the podcast is doing good. The YouTube likes. I don't really look at the like Spotify or Apple Music statistics, so I have no idea. People could be like trashing us heavy in other platforms, but at least from the YouTube standpoint, which I track the most, it's not bad. But this is a podcast, so I think the most amount of new people we would be getting, like, not on YouTube. So I really should look into what people are talking about on the other platforms.
Yeah, I think that would be a good idea.
So today we have a topic to talk about. Honestly, this is probably a topic that I would have never ran across if one of our longtime listeners haven't suggested. So Mr. Neon, thank you very much for the suggestion. And Mr. Neon wanted us, at least on a couple of occasions as far as I can remember, to talk about the Flora fire, which is a case, a very unfortunate case where four young girls lost their lives in Indiana state, in a small city, town, I would like to say, called Flora, in 2016. And this case is sometimes, honestly, most of the time, I would even say, it's not even a controversial idea, but this case is, I don't want to say the spotlight has been taken away from the Flora case by the infamous 2017 February 13th murder of two young girls in Delphi, Indiana. We're talking about Abigail Williams and Liberty German, because Flora and Delphi is just a short drive away, both in the northern part of Indiana state. And Delphi murders took place several months after the Flora fire, which is, as I understand, by law enforcement suspected to be an arson, so it's also a murder. And the Delphi case, some people believe, got way more, let's say, media attention, that's for sure. We don't really know if law enforcement also dedicated more resources towards the Delphi case, but it's unfortunate. So, have you ever heard about the Flora case?
Honestly, I feel really terrible because I am one of those people who knows about the Delphi murders. And I heard about this case just recently.
I mean, honestly, before Mr. Neon commented, I had no idea this was a thing.
Yeah, so we're basically part of the people who didn't know about it at all.
For sure. I talked about the Delphi case at least on several different occasions. And I never knew that just a short drive away there was another, by the looks of it, murder of four girls that took place, and I never knew that.
I guess it's kind of like, I could see the reason why Delphi got way more attention, mainly because of that video.
Yeah, Delphi, on the other hand, has Delphi is a unique case due to, you have that video, you have the very strange location.
What did the guy say over there? Like over the bridge or something?
I think the guy said, guys, down the hill.
Oh, yeah. That video is terrifying.
Terrifying. So I kind of understand why it took off, but I really feel like it's a huge injustice that no one is out here.
Definitely, 4 innocent lives were claimed just a short distance and just a few months prior,
Yeah.
Delphi.
Yeah. All right. So let's dig into the story.
Yeah, let's begin.
Before we jump into the other details surrounding the case. November 21st, 2016 was a Monday. In the early morning hours, an arson, a suspected arson, killed 4 young girls in Flora, Indiana. The 4 girls were sisters. They were Keyana Davis, Keyara Phillips, Kerriele McDonald, and Kionnie Welch. The girls' ages ranged from Keyana, who was the eldest, she was 11, Keyara was 9, Kerriele was 7, and Kionnie was 5. So these are very young girls who lost their lives in a tragic house accident. Flora itself is a little bit north from the center of Indiana, so it's quite a bit north away from Indianapolis.
I don't know much about Flora. Is it kind of like a city or more like a town? Is it smaller?
It's a town. It has only 2,000 people. Flora is within Carroll County, Indiana, just like Delphi. So we have...
But Delphi is bigger, right?
I would say it's around the same size. Maybe it's a little bigger. I don't know. But we have the same police people and law enforcement agencies working both cases. We have Doug Carter, the same Doug Carter who, a lot of people have a lot of things to say about that guy. And if you have been familiar with the Delphi case, I mean, obviously you know who Doug Carter is, and you may even have a negative or a positive opinion about the man, whichever way it would be. So the house in Flora where the fire took the lives of the girls is actually located on the main street. There's a town, and it's basically cut in half by the main street. I would say this is the most busy street in Flora. And the house sits literally adjacent to the main street. The house is now no longer there. It has been demolished as of late because I think law enforcement deemed that there is no more investigative, let's say,
use.
Use for the building. So it was allowed to be demolished. I did take pictures of the house, because if you go on the Google Street View, you can go back in time to, I don't remember. I think this is definitely after the fires. I believe this is 2018 Google Street View images that we're looking at. So this is already a post-fire visual that we have. We have the board, the doors and the windows are boarded up. One thing that jumps out to me immediately about the house is that looks like the neighbor house is really close.
Yeah, extremely.
And almost makes me think, was there ever a danger of the neighbor's house catching fire? What do you think?
Definitely.
There could have been, right? The 4 girls' mother is a woman named Gaylin Rose. She survived the fire. The family had just recently moved into Flora, as it seems, just several months before the fire took place, and they started renting out this house that caught on fire. They were paying $500 per month on a monthly basis.
I just have to say, $500 per month for a huge house And maybe we're just being non-Americans here, but for me, this is a huge house.
So I
It's
think
cheap.
I think I've seen something that this house is it's separated. Well, it's been split up into 2 units.
Oh, okay. So it's not that good of a deal then.
Yeah, I mean, I was trying to find some information about the other occupants who were living at this house, who were renting the other unit, and honestly, it's been I wasn't able to find any more information. However, I was able to find a brief mention about it. So there was another family who was living in the house. However, at the time of the Flora fires, only the mother of that other family was at the house, and she also escaped the house and survived. So I could be wrong here, but that's the brief thing that I ran into. Have you ever ran into anything like that?
Actually, no. I was trying to find any statements by the neighbors or anything at all. I couldn't find anything.
The information is hard to come by in this one.
Yeah, there was no Wikipedia page, and I don't know, it's mostly just Reddit threads, right? And maybe a few articles here and there.
Yeah, there were some sources. This case is heavily discussed on the Flora 5 subreddit. It has its own subreddit, and it has a lot of good details. So a lot of the information that I pulled out during my research, I actually had to grab from the subreddit.
And it's pretty interesting actually because 4 innocent children were killed in this house fire just months prior to Delphi murders, and the amount of exposure that Delphi murders was insane.
Delphi Murders is a globally talked about case. It's
Heavily covered.
Heavily covered.
And meanwhile, Flora fire case,
Flora Fire, not that much.
I could barely find any articles about it.
Any articles? I think a lot of the reason, maybe the problem with the Flora Fire case is a lot of the information is not very transparent, let's put it that way, and you really have to kind of like dig deep into the information to try to kind of understand what's happening here. So I think Delphi Murders case is maybe a little bit more, I would say, easier to understand because it really is quite simple in Delphi. You have, 2 victims that were killed by, a guy who was walking towards them crossing the bridge. So it's a pretty straightforward scenario.
And maybe the evidence were easier to come by.
Yeah,
There was literally a video.
There was literal video, some audio, and you got the whole country talking, who is this guy? But in the Flora fire case, there is active speculation whether or not this was arson to begin with. And even if it wasn't arson, that would mean that another individual, as I understand, would have something to gain in order to, let's say, fabricate this whole arson scenario. And it could have been an arson. I'm telling you, it's quite confusing, but hopefully by the end of the podcast, we will be able to kind of like at least, explain a little bit what's happening here if we got the information correct ourselves. So let's keep going. So Gaylin Rose, the mother of the family, told the media that the family had been settling in comfortably in Flora. Rose began working as a, I think, gas station clerk, while the 4 girls started going to school. And I think the gas station, there's a couple gas stations in Flora. I don't know exactly in which one Gaylin Rose was working at. There's 2 of them, and they're both kind of close to the main street, so not that far away from where Gaylin was living. Honestly, to run ahead a little bit of the story, I would like to say that I was not able to find any background information about Gaylin Rose, which was quite interesting. Did you run into any Gaylin Rose background or the family background?
No, not at all. I was actually curious as to why the kids all have different last names, and I was trying my hardest to find out why, and I couldn't find anything.
Yeah, I had that same question in my head. So we have, and I think Galen has a different name from many of the victims in this case as well. So it really is a bizarre situation, in my opinion. I'm just trying to make sure I have it.
I just have to say though, moving in another place with 4 children, and when you're a single mom, I can't imagine how tough it is.
It's really tough.
Yeah.
I also want to know whether or not there was a specific reason for the family to make this move. Because we know that the family originally is from Jefferson City, Missouri, which is the capital of Missouri. It's the capital city of Missouri. It's not the biggest city in Missouri, but it's the capital city of Missouri. It has 50,000 people living there. It is a significantly bigger and a significantly busier place than Flora. So the reasoning for why Rose would take her family to Flora, I couldn't find that. I'm sure there was a reason.
Yeah, I just read in one of the articles, maybe a Reddit thread or something, that Gaylin wanted a fresh start.
That's what I also came across.
Probably personal reasons that could not be related to what happened, but I'm assuming it's just maybe to get away from, maybe some problems.
Well, wouldn't that kind of sound like it could be related?
No, maybe it could be something like, I don't know, she was sick of Jefferson City, too many annoying people, left to take a breather or something like that.
I could see that, that she had maybe like, I don't know, someone that she wasn't seeing like eye to eye in Jefferson City. But still, Flora is a strange pick in my experience. If you are gonna start a fresh start, you want to find a city that has
jobs,
and Flora doesn't look like it has a lot of opportunities.
With all due respect to our listeners who may be in Flora, it feels like it's in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be really surprised if we have any Flora listeners. But if we do have, then our apologies. So the girls started cheerleading and they were, making friends at high school. They've only been in Flora literally for like a few months before, unfortunately, really sad, but their lives have been cut short. And it's such a messed up thing to look at the girls because they're just kids, dude. And I mean,
they look so innocent, honestly.
They look so innocent. Look like just, like these babies who just wanted to, like, I don't know, just go to school
and play around
and do something. It's terrible, to me. And I'm sure, like, given my, like, initial research on the case, I feel like there's most likely blame to be attributed to somebody. It's just so hard to find out who. I guess we're gonna try to do it.
Okay, I just want to ask in advance, do you think there's a chance that the fire was a complete accident?
So I don't think it was an accident. Something had to have happened. I think it just. I guess the question is, was it arson or not? Because I think if it wasn't arson, then I think there's a chance that some sort of a household application malfunctioned, which we have something to talk about that in a little bit. So I was going through some articles, so I found some information here about the night of the fire. Gaylin Rose remembers that she put the girls to bed in their bunk beds upstairs on Sunday night. They were preparing for what was going to be a busy week ahead of them. She then went to her own bedroom, which was on the lower level of the house. So she was sleeping on the first floor and the girls were sleeping on the second floor. Rose said that it was after 3 a.m. that she woke up and jumped from the bed. The flames were spreading fast, and she heard the girls scream for her from their upstairs room. So this is a bit of a. I was trying to kind of like figure out exactly how this whole thing went down in terms of how did Gaylin Rose notice the fire. The only real information is that she somehow, shortly after 3 a.m., just all of a sudden woke up, and it seems like the house was already on fire.
That's crazy.
The flames were spreading fast, and she heard the girls scream for her. Rose told the media that she tried desperately to get to the girls as the intense heat engulfed the small unit.
I wonder if anyone actually noticed the fire from the outside. Most likely not, because no one actually stepped in and said anything about it. It's just so interesting because if the girls were already screaming from the second floor and Gaylin I don't know, for some reason the fire woke Gaylin up. It was spreading rapidly and it's probably like massive at that point.
Yeah. I mean, when I imagine a fire, I think like everything's burning and there's nowhere to go. But I think it's
spreading really quickly.
Yeah, I have no idea how that even went down.
I wonder, like, maybe the neighbors noticed something, anything?
I think they should, because
right?
the neighbors were, the house is so close.
Mm-hmm.
So the neighbors in theory should have noticed something.
But then again, it was around, what, 4 a.m.? 3 a.m.?
3 a.m., yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So they may have been sleeping.
Mm-hmm.
So Rose could not get to the girls, and the flames pushed her back from the stairwell. The first call to 911 came in at 3:35 a.m. I don't know who made the phone call. I just know that
I read somewhere that it was Gaylin.
The Gaylin made the phone call at 3:35.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So Rose was airlifted to the hospital, and according to records, they showed that she suffered burns over her body, including her corneas, which were burnt during the fire. So she had multiple burn injuries after this whole ordeal. Unfortunately, the 4 girls died in the fire, and their death certificates issued by the Indiana Department of Health list asphyxiation and inhalation of carbon monoxide and soot as the cause of death. In the days after the fire, there were vigils held for the girls. Memorials were built outside of the home, and the whole community was shocked. The fire was initially ruled undetermined by the Indiana State Fire Marshal's office, and at the time, investigators said that it likely originated in the kitchen area. However, the Indiana State Fire Marshal's investigators declared that wiring behind the refrigerator started the fire. So that's what they initially said, which resulted in the death of the girls. The structure was originally a single-family home that was divided into 2 apartments. The family of 5 lived in the lower unit where the fire was set, and the family was living in a second unit. So there was a second family living in the second unit, and from that second unit, only the mother was at the house, who also escaped unharmed, as I've already mentioned earlier. So a few months later passed, and then this is where some people think that weird things are happening in this case, because the Indiana State's Fire Marshal's office, the same office that initially speculated that there could have been something off with the wiring behind the fridge, now they came out there and they said that 2 months later, the fire was caused by arson, because they found multiple as I understand, multiple, at first they said multiple, accelerants throughout the house.
I'm still curious about those accelerants. What were they specifically? Like gas? Kerosene? I don't know.
It was, as I understand, never released to the public. And I think the reasoning to not release to the public what exactly the accelerants were was due to the integrity of the investigation. They probably want to keep that private, because if they catch someone, they could ask what flammable substance the arsonist used. Does that make sense? They're not trying to release this information to the public because there could be someone with a false statement, and they asked them which accelerant was used, and they were like, oh, it was petrol, but maybe it was something else, and then they could rule out this person.
I guess. What do you think about it?
I think it makes sense.
Okay.
At least to me, it makes sense. What do you think? You think they should release more information about the case?
I'm not really sure. I'm just very curious because if those accelerants they were talking about was just like, I don't know, rubbing alcohol
Yeah.
to go like a disinfectant for your hands or something, then I guess it would make sense to why they have it inside the house. If it's something different, then it would be more questionable, no?
But even so, how would they catch on fire if they're just, sitting there in the cabinet? It doesn't make sense. They would never catch on fire. There needs to be someone purposely setting the accelerant on fire. So regardless of what type of accelerant is found, I think just the fact that it was used to start the fire
Oh,
already...
wait. So you're telling me that whatever, for example, gasoline, it was
Yeah.
spread around the house?
I mean, that's how the police are like describing the situation.
Oh crap!
What
for
were you
some
thinking?
reason, I always interpret it as in a way that's like there's a bunch of rubbing alcohol in one cabinet and maybe a bottle of freaking gasoline on the side to be used later on and maybe in a car or something.
Mm-hmm.
I did not know that it was spread out.
No, I also don't know, but I just assume because law enforcement has been like describing the reasoning why they think it was an arson, and I think their reasoning is because they found accelerant. So I'm just like making a conclusion in my head that
It was spread around
Yeah.
the liquid. Do you think there's a possibility of a leak of something?
I'm not sure. Maybe. So no arrests were ever made, and no suspects were ever, named, and no arrests were made. Investigators couldn't find batteries in a smoke alarm on the second floor. So the smoke alarm was in the upstairs hallway, which was exposed to extreme heat. The alarm was scorched and melted. The smoke alarm in the second apartment with the uninjured mother was found to be working when crews responded to the fire. So there were two smoke alarms, and the fact that the smoke alarm on the second floor had no batteries in it means that it was not fully operational, which could have saved the girls' lives, which is terrible. That it had no
That's
batteries.
terrible.
It's like the worst thing to do is to put the smoke detector and not even put any batteries in it. I mean, I think, okay, as a person who I'm renting an apartment, I would see a smoke alarm, I would feel safe, and I would as a kid, I would never even think about double checking if it has any batteries. I feel like the landlord should ensure this.
Definitely.
Under-
And I wouldn't even put any blame on Gaylin. She was a single mom with a job and 4 kids.
Yeah,
Last thing on her head is like checking the freaking smoke alarms.
I agree with that. I definitely agree with that point of view, Indiana State Police Superintendent Doug Carter promised a thorough investigation. He promised to find the people responsible for the murders. The home, which stood there for a while, it was torn down because it was not needed to be preserved anymore. And after the fire, Gaylin Rose relocated back to Jefferson City, Missouri, and she left Flora, which is understandable, in my opinion. And Rose was interviewed by the media, and she said something interesting. This is her exact, I think, quote from the article. She says, "I talked to my grandmother before I went to sleep. Out of nowhere, something just told me, get up. I rolled out of the bed, and then when I hit the corner, that was it. I was like, I am in a house on fire. So I tried to get to the steps to go up to get the girls, and I couldn't breathe. I couldn't talk. I couldn't say anything. That's how bad the smoke was. All I remember is the ambulance coming in. They put me in the ambulance, and I was crying for my babies. I was not stopping crying for my babies. But the interesting thing for me, which stood out from this particular statement, is that she was talking to her grandmother, and then out of nowhere, something told her to get up. So I am a little confused whether or not Gaylin Rose was actually fully asleep, or was she kind of awake before the fire happened? Because if she was fully awake, then, and she was living on the first floor, then maybe that would rule out like someone coming in to the house and setting it on fire. And I don't think it even makes sense for someone to come inside of the house if they're gonna set it on fire. I think wouldn't they just pour the accelerants on the outside of the house?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking as well.
So maybe this detail, if Rose was sleeping or not, maybe it really doesn't give us any additional stuff to work with.
From the way I understood it, it's kind of like maybe she was half asleep, maybe she was fully asleep. But sometimes when you are asleep and for some reason you wake up in the middle of the night for no reason. I have a feeling that happened, but her house was on fire.
Do you think that the fire woke her up?
Potentially, or like the cracking noises, or maybe the heat even.
Yeah.
Something woke her up.
Yeah, for sure.
But unfortunately, it was too late.
So Jefferson City in Missouri is where the girls grew up, where Rose learned how to be a mother, she said. She said that at the time, before moving to Flora, this is her quote, "We decided to make the changes because I wanted to go and be somewhere different." And the interviewer asked her, "Why did you decide to make the change?" And she said, "We decided to make the changes because I wanted to go and be somewhere different." And then she was asked, "What was life like in Flora with the girls?" And Rose replied, "It was totally different than Jefferson City. I worked in the Marathon gas station. Every day I would have a gentleman come in there and throw change at me because he wanted coffee. The energy shifted." So I think she's insinuating that there was some sort of a racial aspect happening in Flora.
Do you know what percentage of how many people in the Black community there is?
Yeah, because we're talking about, by the way, for everyone who's listening to this, probably didn't mention this, we're talking about the victims are 4 Black girls. Mm-hmm. And the mother is also Black. So I don't know exactly the numbers, but I think it's definitely like predominantly white. But I don't think that they were the only Black people in town. I think there were more Black people, but I think it was, as I understand, Rose is saying there was some sort of a racial aspect, an unpleasant racial aspect, in the town. Mm-hmm. 6 months after moving into her home, it all went up in flames. And she was asked, if she thought that her, daughter's case was properly investigated. She says, I just feel like they were moving too fast to just jump to their own conclusions without stopping and thinking. And she said, why do you think they'd want to jump to conclusions? And she said, I'm black, to be honest with you. And Rose believes that is why the attention shifted 3 months later in Delphi to two white girls who went missing and were found murdered. That's when she says the press coverage, law enforcement resources, and attention all shifted away from solving the Flora case to the one in Delphi. She was asked, do you think if you were white and this was 4 white girls who had died in the fire, do you think the investigation would have been concluded differently? And she said, of course, yes. They would have taken more time to look into it. It was so fast. Within 3 to 6 months, they had all the answers. So Rose believes that from the interview that it was not investigated properly due to the racial aspect. And what do you think about it? It's a tough question.
It's a really tough question.
You know what I'm gonna say? It's a tough question for us here because, dude, we live in the whitest country in human history. One of the whitest countries in human history, and there's like no other type of people. There's some more people now here and there, but like in this part of the world, there's just only one color.
Mm-hmm.
And
oh, come on, we have immigrants as well, no?
Yeah, we do. We definitely do. But I would say like on the news, on the TV, it's just
pure whiteness.
Just nothing outside of that. So,
but I haven't even seen racism here, and honestly, I don't know anything about racism in America. If it's predominant, if it's terrible.
I mean, from the sound of it, we can't really say because I've never been there.
Yeah.
So I've never experienced anything like that, but I don't. Okay, realistically, I do know that there are some maybe racist kind of undertones or whatever in this country, but I think it's maybe potentially different from America because this country is basically you're only kind of making those remarks only because you've never seen these people ever in your life, so you don't even have any interaction. But I feel like in America it's more like they live, it's like a melting pot, so everyone probably has something to say about everyone else.
Mm-hmm.
So what about Flora? Do you think that it was do you think that there was a racial aspect to this case?
It's really hard to say, honestly. And for our viewers, just a personal information from us, I'm an immigrant myself, and I have never felt any racism here in Lithuania. And so I always assume that the world is this nice, dandy place where there is no racism, but I don't know, this could be something different. And I can't picture it, honestly.
Yeah, man.
Maybe there is.
Maybe there is. If you watch Netflix.
Netflix is full of people with color.
No, but there are some horror movies on Netflix where.
But that was ages ago. Movies ages ago.
No. No. Like even recent movies where they're showing,
Nah.
Minorities really having to fend for themselves out there.
No, I don't think so. I think this is different, but maybe there is. I think I would like to go to America and go to
Indiana.
Yeah, something like that.
Talk to the people,
just to feel the vibe, because I really have nothing to base my assumptions upon.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Maybe there is, but right now I could not picture it at all, and I'm assuming that maybe the investigation went really, really fast, really quickly, mainly because it was overshadowed by the Delphi murders, not because of color, but because of the situation. Maybe police assume that Flora fire may have been an accident and they don't have any evidence to investigate.
So I would like to say one thing off the bat here is that I do think that the media really focused way more on the Delphi case, and
definitely,
and you don't need to speculate. That's just super obvious. But I don't think we know if
But do you think color has something to do with it? Throwing the hard question back
honestly
to you.
I don't. Somehow I don't think I just will just say I just don't get the feeling. I could be completely wrong here, but I don't think that the girls died because of their color. I don't think anyone was out to murder them because of their color, or at least I haven't seen anything suggesting that.
No, I meant like the police.
I don't know. That's what I'm saying. I'm saying that we don't know if the police investigated Flora case any more than they did with Delphi. Because from the media point of view, you would expect, oh yeah, everything is going to Delphi. But at the same time, it's not like they left completely Flora case hanging. I think they were still investigating. We just don't know how much. So I don't know if police was investigating it less because it's black girls. And honestly, it would be so crappy, dude, if that was the case.
Awful.
It would be so bad. But I'm just still sort of like hoping that in Indiana, police will investigate every case like with the same level of effort.
I think so, hopefully.
I'm hoping for that to be the case. I know that the media focused heavy on the Delphi case, and it also might not be like necessarily super racial related. We do have a lot more to talk about in the Delphi case when it comes to like, putting something on quickly on the news. Like you have a image of a guy walking towards you across the bridge. I mean, that's
So are you
frightening.
saying that, for example, there is a video of a guy walking in front of the house of the...
Something like that. I feel like it would have generated more buzz if it had, if the Flora fire case had more, let's
Concrete
say, something.
evidence-ish.
Yeah. Anyways, I think that's enough for this.
I think we over-explained ourselves a
Yeah,
little
the
too much
pit
here.
stop. Like, come on, the common courtesy, touchy subject pit stop is over, and now we're progressing towards the weird stuff that transpired in the Flora case. So Rose's biggest question was who is responsible for the death of her daughters. In the years since the tragic night, resignations among those involved in the investigation, conflicting reports, and suspicions of fraud have clouded the entire investigation. Rose told the media that she wonders if her daughters could have been saved if the smoke detector had been operational. She also wonders if small-town politics have hindered the search for justice, but most importantly, she just wants to know the truth about what happened to the girls. During the media's investigation with Rose, Rose brought up something interesting. Rose brought up a previously unreported twist in the case at the time of the interview with her, and it was a letter that was sent to Rose by the law enforcement investigators. And law enforcement investigators in 2019, July 19th, so 3 years later, they asked her and her attorneys the desire to discuss the case again, even though at that point I think Rose had been she talked with law enforcement, but now 3 years later, law enforcement wants to talk with her one more time. And the most interesting piece of this letter is that there was something about immunity related to her alleged illegal drug activity. So I actually have a picture of this letter, and it basically goes like this interesting part from the letter. It says, an interview with Miss Rose would surely allow us to gain more insightful information related to whom she commonly associated with. We need to better understand her personal life, her activities, and identify everyone that visited her home in the days, weeks, and months before the fire. We believe that her associations may well lead to a motive and a direct correlation to the crime that killed those 4 little girls. Surely she will help us. We have empathy for the difficult conversation that we are asking for, but it cannot be as difficult as what occurred to those little girls on the night of November 21st, 2016. If she chooses to not participate or be less than forthright with us, the likelihood of persecutions diminishes with time. We understand that Miss Rose could be fearful of criminal repercussions for discussing particular matters associated with her personal life. Therefore, attached is a letter from the Carroll County prosecutor which remisses Miss Rose from any criminal charges related to her alleged illegal drug activity.
What?
So basically, to break it down, what's happening is that the investigators sent a letter to Rose saying that they want another interview, and she will be pardoned if she discusses anything related to her alleged drug activity. And
That's kind of odd. Don't you think so?
so what I understand is that police is thinking that Rose was somehow consuming drugs, using drugs, selling drugs, something like that. And maybe somehow that is part of the story.
Like there was some drug dealing happening.
Either
went wrong.
Either there was retaliation after some sort of a bad drug moment, either she was consuming drugs and the house caught on fire, she was smoking marijuana or something like that. So that's what she's saying. So it is unclear what the alleged drug use has to do with the investigation, although Rose did admit to occasionally use marijuana. That's all she said, that she only smoked some weed, which is...
So it's basically nothing.
It basically looks like nothing, according to Gaylin Rose. Still, the letter says that Indiana State Police investigators wanted to speak with her to get more information related to whom she commonly associated with, which I think is very smart.
That's true.
I mean, I found absolutely no information about her inner circle. Do you have anything like to kind of talk about here?
No, not at all. That's actually the oddest part for me, is that they were a complete mystery.
The whole family's background is such a mystery. Even after so many years, we have nothing.
Like, I didn't even know if they had friends in Flora. There's no information about it at all.
Yeah, that's
like
true.
The colleagues, I don't know.
Yeah, exactly.
Family members.
Yeah. So even though the letter was sent years earlier, Rose said that she has not met with the investigators and she maintains her innocence, and she says, "I'm not hiding anything. I will talk to them, but there hasn't been any communication. But don't ask me some intrusive questions that do not have anything to do with the fire," she said. So she is saying that she doesn't want intrusive questions from law enforcement, which I think law enforcement would want to ask those questions to probably solve the case. I don't think they would be asking those questions, but I don't know, man. But I don't think they would be asking those questions to persecute Rose on some deeper level.
I'm with you on this. I think they were just...
They're just trying to figure out. That's what
more.
It seems to me. That I don't think that, there's anything more than
At
that.
first it sounded odd, honestly, and that's why I
The
reacted.
letter
I was
about
like,
the drug?
what?
No, to me the letter, honestly, okay.
The pardon?
I might be crazy, but to me the letter kind of seems logical, like to be sent to Rose. Like here, I think law enforcement, they don't know if Rose had any like drug involvement. So they mentioned alleged drug activities. So they were like, maybe you could shed some more light about this drug stuff if it ever happened. And if you tell us anything about it, we will not prosecute you on any drug related charges. So I think it was honestly a smart thing to do from the investigators. Honestly, the fact that it's happening like 3 years later, I don't know what's the holdup.
Maybe they just figured it out.
Or like something tipped them that there was some drug stuff.
Potentially, yeah.
Yeah, so we don't know what's happening.
But then again, these were her children. So if she knows of anything that could help solve this case, she would have said so herself, no?
I mean, in the perfect world,
I mean, come on.
and I'm not saying anything. I'm just saying if we don't know, then we don't know.
That's true.
We can't just say something happened for certain, because if you don't know, then you
We're
don't
just
know.
assuming here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But I do agree that, like, if she would want to get to the bottom of it, she probably wants to, like, disclose everything.
Yeah, because I don't know. I've seen a few YouTube videos, news articles, maybe news videos, and she looked really heartbroken.
I mean, how can you not? You know,
Exactly.
Honestly, I have no idea how to live life after that.
Definitely.
I don't even know how
Yeah.
you wake up and you go to work. How do you go to work after that? I mean, I have no idea how you go. How you brush your teeth after that.
It was a complete tragedy, of
I
course.
have no idea, man.
And that's why I'm here assuming that if Gaylin knows of anything that could help solve the murder of her children, she would have came forward.
Yeah, she would have came forward, most likely. State police remain tight-lipped, declining any further questions. Rose's friend Kathy believes there's a cloak of secrecy surrounding the case. Even all those years later, she said, "This case is just a secret. Try to get some information, I dare you." And there's conflicting reports on the fire cause, which have led to speculations and rumors. Shortly after the fire in November of 2016, it was initially reported as undetermined. In January of 2017, which is a couple months later, investigators flip-flopped, and they said that with the help of Indiana Department of Homeland Security, released a report stating that they believe the fire had been intentionally set. Changes in the key personnel of the investigator squad have also made gathering any new information difficult at best. And this is where I'm gonna make several. I'm gonna make several names. I'm gonna list several names here, which is important for us to remember.
Drop them.
Yeah, because this is where that small town politics might be at play. So we have Adam Randall, who was the chief of the Flora Fire Department, where the fire happened. He is also the son of the key fire investigator of the Indiana State Fire Marshal's office, Dennis Randall. So Dennis is Adam's dad. Dennis is the Indiana State Fire Marshal's investigator. So he is like investigating fires all throughout Indiana, like trying to figure out if it's arson, if it's something went wrong with the appliances. So Dennis has a son, Adam, who is the fire chief. So why I'm trying to make it, why I'm trying to like emphasize this is because Dennis and Adam, father and son duo, they could be somehow collaborating to like flip-flop on some investigation details.
Oh, that's why you were getting so riled up.
No, I'm just trying to make sure people understand. Like, we have Dennis, the father, and the son Adam, and then on top of that, Adam Randall. Okay, so Dennis and Adam. Adam is the son. Adam, who is the fire chief of Flora, his boss was, not Dennis, because Dennis works for the state, probably in like Indianapolis or something, in the biggest city or something like that. But Josh Ayers is another guy who is the boss of Adam Randall. Josh Ayers is, at the time of the fire, the president of the Flora Town Council. And he owned and rented the home that Gaylin Rose was renting with her 4 girls. So this is why it's crazy, because the house that burnt down is owned by the president of the Flora Town Council. So a government official named Josh Ayers, and Adam Randall, the fire chief, works for Josh Ayers. So you would think that he wants to like be on good terms with Josh Ayers for
I
like
understand.
potential bump ups. And Adam's dad is Dennis Randall, the guy who investigates Indiana fires, and he could somehow, if Josh went to Adam, please talk to your dad and maybe adjust the verdict of my house fire. That would really help my own interests. And then Adam, wanting to build a better relationship with his boss Josh, he calls his dad. He's like, I think it was an arson, or it wasn't an arson. And then Dennis is like, okay. But obviously this is probably, I'm glad we're not in America because we might get sued for this.
I can see that happening.
I just want to put it out there. There's no proof of any of this. There's absolutely no proof of any of this. I'm just like putting out a hypothetical scenario.
We're just assuming here.
Yeah. And I'm very glad to be assuming from across the ocean, because I don't want to be assuming this in America.
In Flora.
No, just anywhere in America, you're going to get sued. But I think we're harder to get to. And if they will sue us, I immediately apologize and everything will be...
Please don't sue us.
And everything will go down ASAP.
Yep, we're just assuming. There could be a cover-up. We're trying to maybe list down all the possible theories, one of which could be a complete accident. This could be a cover-up.
Josh Ayers. So let's dig into the Josh Ayers topic. So, yeah... In June of 2017, Dennis Randall, the father of Adam Randall that I talked about earlier, he resigned his position amid questions about the handling of the case. So due to scrutiny, he had to quit his job. Within that same year, his son also resigned from the fire department in Flora. Carroll County Prosecutor Robert Eves had also retired, and the new state police detective had taken over the police investigation. So it seems like a lot of people retired related to this fire. That's
pretty weird.
They didn't retire because they got old. Well, I think Dennis may have, but Adam retired because I think of the scrutiny he faced. Before his resignation from the fire department, Adam's boss had been Josh Ayers. Ayers was the president of the Flora Town Council and the owner and landlord of the home, which burnt down and within which Gaylin Rose, 4 daughters, have passed away. Those close to Rose and her family said that the resignations and retirements further clouded the investigation's integrity, leaving them with more questions. Private fire investigators were hired by Gaylin Rose and her landlord's attorneys. So we're talking about Josh Ayers. Both of Gaylin Rose and Josh Ayers, they hired their own fire investigators, and they needed it because I believe Rose had took Josh Ayers to court, and she was alleging wrongful death. Their investigators, both of the parties' investigators, offered conflicting assessments on whether there was enough time to escape the fire had there been working smoke detectors inside the home. So Gaylin Rose was arguing that if there were batteries in the upstairs smoke detector, that the girls would have been able to run out the house and save themselves, which is logical, in my opinion.
Do you think there's a possibility that the fire was intentionally set up, but the killing of the 4 girls weren't? Like, maybe whoever set up the fire thought that the detector would both work.
So I actually thought about that. And our listeners are thinking, why would you set someone's house on fire just for no reason? And there is a reason. There is a insurance policy reason that we will get into in like literally 2 seconds. But I was thinking about it, and I don't think that that's the case, because if you're gonna set a house on fire and you don't want anyone to die, why are you setting it at the middle of the night? Okay, maybe there's like less people around,
or maybe whoever set the house on fire thought that no one was home. Maybe they're somewhere out.
Yeah, I don't know about that one. I think it was. I think how could they know? And I think during the day there were lights probably outside of the apartment. So I don't think it was a trick to set the fire. Honestly, I just don't see how he did it because Gaylin and her daughters at some point during the day, every day, they were all outside of the house.
Oh yeah, so
Why
the
would
fire
you
could have
go-
been. Yeah.
Set a fire at this bad timing. So the investigators offered conflicting results. Rose investigators concluded that there had been enough time for Rose to escape the home after rescuing her children. A defense fire investigator working for Josh Ayers, the landlord, concluded in the opposite way. Amid the shuffle of pages in a separate lawsuit, documents revealed something bizarre. An insurance policy had been taken out on the house 2 months before the fire took place. This is bizarre because basically the media spoke to Indiana University professor of finance Joe Fitter about the policy, and Joe Fitter is not associated with the case but offered his opinions about the unusual timing of the insurance policy and home appraisal that were part of the investigation. According to documents submitted as part of the investigation, a policy was written on August 31st, 2016 for the home that Rose and her children were living in. The insurance policy had liability coverage for the dwelling in the amount of almost $400,000 and went into effect on September 15th. A home appraisal was also included in those documents dated September 10th. So so I'm gonna tell you this real quick. This is shocking. The appraisal was valued at $45,000. So I don't know how it's even possible, but there is a picture, like there is an actual picture that I put here and I'm going to be showing it. So we're not just talking out of our butts here. It literally is like that. The house legit costs $45,000 and somehow it was insured for almost $400,000, almost 10 times the value of the actual house. So this insurance policy looks like a lottery ticket. It really does.
How does that work?
I don't know. Like, you as a landlord have full interests in the house going ablaze. I do have a few comments. So let's take a look at the timeline. I believe that Josh Ayers, because he's the owner and the landlord, so I'm just assuming that he is the guy. He walks up to the insurance policy company, and on August 31st, on the last day of summer, he goes and he insures his house. And the insurers insured for $400K.
Weird, but okay.
Quite a lot of money, but okay.
Go on.
10 days later, Josh orders an appraisal from Becky Patty.
Who?
Becky Patty, grandmother of Liberty German. Crazy, right? There's no connection. Don't worry about it.
Okay.
There's no connection here. I really doubt there's any connection here, but it is bizarre how Becky Patty was a real estate appraiser. It was her job. She's working in real estate. That's her job.
How small is this town?
Small communities. That's why it's so close. But Becky Patty, Liberty German's grandmother. Bizarre, dude. Bizarre. There's no way around it. Just to say bizarre.
It's crazy.
You know what I mean? Anyways, she, does a thorough job and she's $45K. And it makes sense. The house looks like it's $45K. You know what I mean? Especially in 2016. Definitely looks like a $45K house. So I don't know how in the history of bad insurance policies was this able to pass? Like, and I had to ask Chat GPT for assistance here, and the Chat GPT told me that sometimes these insurance policies are conducted only by the person wanting to insure their home just explaining what kind of property they're insuring.
Oh, so there
So
was
basically-
lying?
So basically, I go and I insure my car, and I tell the insurer it's a Bugatti. Just take my word for it. You know, that's how
This is crazy.
That's how it looks like. This is how, I don't know in any way, like, in what world would anyone think that a house in Flora, that not even that big house, is worth $400K
I
in
couldn't,
2016 money?
yeah, I couldn't think of it.
That's like
I
600K.
couldn't comprehend it even.
No, it's insane. It's crazy. But somehow it went down. Okay, so now with this, and honestly, I don't know the details about this policy. Maybe the 400K includes some other stuff. I don't know if this 400K was ever paid out to Josh Ayers. So let's take it with a grain of salt. But by the looks of it, this looks very suspicious. This now looks like Josh Ayers would have interest in the house catching fire.
Yeah, seems like it.
So we don't know exactly when. We know that the policy was conducted on the last day of summer. I think what is important for us when we think about this case, if we're gonna talk about this, we need to know when did Rose move into the house, because of two reasons.
6 months before it caught fire, no?
6 months, and it caught fire in November. So I'm pretty sure Rose was living in the house way before
The insurance policy.
which it makes it more suspicious, because if she moved in after the insurance policy was conducted, then maybe it's just a good policy, but no one's trying to do any insurance fraud here. Maybe they are lucky with the good deal that they got on the insurance, and they're just gonna rent it out, and they're renting out to a family, all goody good, no problems there. But since it happened beforehand, it's kind of crazy, because now Josh Ayers, by the looks of it, and I could be wrong here, I'm just literally reading what I found online. By the looks of it, he's sitting on a gold mine, and the only things in his way is the two families renting those units.
But really, fire. Maybe there's a better way to do it.
I mean, there's no other way.
It has to look like an accident
Yeah.
to
so
get
now,
the insurance
now
money.
Arson also covers it.
Oh crap!
Arson also covers it, I think. Or I don't know. I actually
This
don't
is
know.
very suspicious. It's a lot of
I
money.
don't know, but it's a lot of money. It looks like a lottery ticket, and now you have this fire that took place literally just month after the conclusion of this crazy insurance policy.
Okay, let us know what you think.
Yeah, all I'm gonna say is there's probably like something we're missing here, because
Definitely,
I can't
please.
believe my eyes at what I'm looking here. The numbers are like Looney Tune numbers. This is not real life numbers.
Yeah, maybe we just don't know anything about insurance policies
Maybe
or
there's some
something.
other maybe you only get the full amount if there's like damage to the surrounding properties, like to
Potentially,
cover
yeah.
like the other people or something. I don't know how it works, because the numbers don't add up. The numbers are Looney Tune numbers right now. So I don't know what to say about it. I don't know what to make of it.
I also don't have any opinions about it, mainly because I don't understand it.
Yeah, me neither.
It's
man.
crazy.
Yeah, so they talked to that professor guy from the Indiana uni. He literally says, when an insurance policy starts looking like a lottery ticket, suspicion can be raised of insurance fraud. So he basically says the same stuff. as we do. So without kind of going through absolutely everything, and I spent a lot of time. I spent quite a bit of time going through this story. And I feel like due to the amount of different information that could be found on the Flora 4 subreddit, it's very difficult to have a structure
Definitely. I don't even know how you did it.
on how to move forward. So I don't have. I just want to say I don't have a structure. I'm just gonna tell you. I'm just gonna tell you the other things that caught my eye about the case, and that's all I'm gonna do. I'm not gonna. It might go from one thing to another.
Because one thing I noticed about this case is that
There's no one source describing the whole thing.
and it's
You have to fish
going in
out.
circles.
And you have to fish out clues, fish out details.
And the fact that someone powerful, at least in that small town, is involved in it,
Looks bad.
It looks pretty bad, yeah.
It looks bad. Okay, so what I found interesting, okay, I'm just gonna quickly move through it, you know what I'm saying? Nothing interesting. So I found a timeline on the subreddit. It was a very nice timeline. A lot of work was put into it. It had links, everything. I'm not gonna go through the entire timeline because most of the stuff that I talked about we already know. But I will mention a couple of interesting timeline details here. And they are regarding the 911 call. So we're jumping to November 21st, the day of the fire. I don't know anything else other than what I'm about to tell you. 3:28 a.m. Elizabeth Ayres, I believe the wife of landlord Josh Ayres, calls Josh Ayres to let him know that his house was on fire. 3:28. I don't know where Elizabeth is at, where Josh is at, how Elizabeth knows about the fire. I don't know any of this. 6 minutes later, Elizabeth calls 911. Adam Ayres, who could be a son, a brother, a member of the family, is heard yelling, asking about the location of the children. Probably the girls. Courtney Dawns, I have no idea who this person is, calls 911. A fire alarm is heard in the background of the 911 audio with Courtney. 1 minute later, 3:35 a.m., 911 dispatcher informs Elizabeth Ayres that they are toning the fire department. 1 minute later, police siren is heard on the 911 call audio with Elizabeth. And Courtney Dawns, whoever she is, confirms that the cops have arrived. So why I'm talking about this, because I believe, and I could be mistaken here, is that landlord's wife Elizabeth Ayres was the one who called 911, and she only called 911 after having a 6-minute phone call with Josh Ayres?
What?
Elizabeth Ayres has a 6-minute phone call with Josh Ayres before she calls 911? That's what the timeline is telling me?
Maybe because Josh was the landlord.
Yeah.
But it doesn't make sense.
Why even call him?
Yep.
He's not the fire department. Like, you call him after you call 911.
Way after.
Your house is on fire.
Mm-hmm.
You're gonna call your mom, dude, my house is on fire. So many things are probably burning down right now.
I don't know what to do.
I don't know what to do. Like, it's so crazy. Man, I hope. Do you think if I called the fire department, do you think they could you could save it. Man, maybe we should call it. Should I call 911?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So that's how it looks like from the timeline, and it's bizarre.
It's pretty weird.
Unless I understand something incorrectly.
I don't know, from the way you read it, I also have
It
the
looks
same
like
understanding.
yeah, bizarre. Let's jump to another interesting finding about the case. So I was looking at some Reddit comments here. Someone on the Reddit, so we just have to take their word for it here, said, honestly, I would love to give you a good insight. This is a local from Flora saying this, allegedly. I would love to give you a good insight about what happened, but there isn't any. Lots of theories and gossip, but nothing really. We had an issue with our fire chief, but not much came of that. Honestly, a lot of people around here suspect Mother Gaylin to be responsible. I mean, that's just what this one person on Reddit, who we have no idea if they're actually a local, but I would believe them, I guess, says that, and this is even 3 months ago, says that a lot of the locals allegedly suspect Gaylin.
Why?
I don't know. And that's all we have. I mean, I have no reason to believe Gaylin is responsible from the information that I found. But what do they know? So I would like to
locals.
Now I would like to ask anyone from Flora to come on the YouTube channel and write in the comment of our podcast. Why do you suspect Gaylin? Like, what made you think that?
This is a very interesting post that you've seen.
I just would like to know what they think.
Yeah.
If you suspect the Mother Gaylin, then
What's happening there? Because we don't know.
tell us why. Tell us why you're suspecting it. Some other interesting things that occurred was a brutal murder. A brutal murder of a 55-year-old man, Willie Smith Jr., who was murdered in 2021, which is 5 years after the Flora fire. The only reason why I'm bringing up the brutal murder of Willie Smith Jr. is because it happened 1, 2, 3, 4. It happened 4 blocks away from the fire. So it's a very close location. It's 4 blocks away from the house where Gaylin Rose's 4 daughters lost their life. It all happened in the early morning. Apparently, a man was using a dating app, Meet Me, using Cheyenne Brooke Brown's phone.
Huh? Who is she?
We just don't know it. We're just taking this, just what we have.
Okay.
We don't know. Smith, the murder victim, drove to meet Cheyenne, the person he was talking to, on Meet Me dating app. However, there was a man hiding behind the garage at the location. The man's last name is Leftridge. So Leftridge hit Smith twice in the head with a baseball bat and robbed him of his cash, wallet, and phone. Car keys and blood near the vehicle were found. ATM receipt for $120. Security footage tracked the car and suspect movements. Jail phone call was made. Leftridge admitted hitting Smith with a bat. He admitted to murdering the man. Cheyenne, the woman, confessed to luring Smith. So it looks like Cheyenne and Leftridge committed a conspiracy and killed Willie Lee Smith by basically luring him on the dating app and murdering the man.
And what's the connection with our current case?
4 blocks away. 4 blocks away.
But this seems very, how would I say it, internal.
Internal, and I would say I don't see the connection.
Yeah, definitely not.
It happened 5 years later. It's, I'm just throwing stuff that I found.
Oh,
There's
yeah,
so much
definitely,
so
yeah.
much stuff, so I have something to throw out here. What else do I have here to throw? I'm looking at it. There's a strange thing where I've seen the fire department, or not, sorry, the police. I believe the police spent legal fees and legal money fighting the media companies who were trying to get the 911 call released to the public. But police never released the call for some reason.
But there was I did see a phone call, a video about a phone call.
Did you hear the phone call?
No, not a phone call. Probably like the police response to it and the dash cam video.
Well, we need the 911 phone call to know who made it and to know what exactly was described. The phone call, I would say, I could see how some people are getting suspicious about this phone call being almost seems like, so private by the law enforcement.
Everything, a lot of things I meant are
Why,
super private.
Why are they trying to protect the heir family, the heirs?
Oh, come on. I would say yes.
Are they trying to do that? Then we have a very interesting thing, and this is completely uncorroborated. So it could be all not true, but we have a whistleblower.
Ooh.
A whistleblower who sent a letter. I don't know to whom, but they sent a letter. And this is a local person. This is a local resident who remained anonymous. So we can't verify if this is real. But this is the things I kind of want to quickly read through the interesting parts. So this letter goes like this. I have some information I would like to share with you regarding the deadly house fire on November 21st, 2006, located in the 100 block of East Columbia Street, Flora. News agencies reported Carroll County Sheriff's Officer Drew Yoder and Flora Police Officer Josh Dissinger was first to arrive on the scene of a working residential house fire. The officers attempted to make entry into the burning structure to rescue the occupants inside. The rescue attempt was unsuccessful due to the heavy smoke involved and resulted with both officers requiring medical assistance for the injuries they sustained. Later, Officer Drew Yoder was recognized for his heroic efforts with his attempt to save the four girls, and Officer Josh Dissinger cited as a hero, rescuing Officer Yoder, assisting him out of the burning residence. What has not been reported is that Flora Fire Department already had a fire engine and firefighters on the scene. Officer Yoder, on his own accord, disregarded the fire department officer orders to stay out of the way. He grabbed equipment from the fire truck and he placed it on his body before he entered the burning structure. Officer Yoder did not have any other fire department issued license or something like that at the time, nor is he a member of the fire department. Officer Yoder is a member of another fire department located in Carroll County, but not in Flora. Officer Yoder knows as a trained firefighter he should have never entered the burning structure without the proper gear and by himself. Sometime during Officer Yoder's attempted rescue, his face mask came off and was overcome by smoke inhalation. Officer Dissinger ran inside to assist his colleague Yoder's retreat, disregarding firefighters' request to stay out. So it looks like these two cops just tried to, do it by themselves. A seasoned Flora firefighter was on the scene, and he was ready with the gear. He assisted both Yoder and Dissinger to safety. The actions of these two officers compromised the delayed rescue efforts by firefighters to the 4 girls on the scene, focused all their efforts at the time to evacuate the threat. Both law enforcement officers delayed treatment to the other victims. So basically what this person in the letter, he's saying that, the 2 police officers, they disregarded the orders of the fire department officers, and they tried to go in and save the girls, but by doing so they compromised the whole fire department's operation.
I have a strange feeling that this is just because the police officers were trying their best to maybe save the girls.
Yeah.
I don't think this is like, oh, we intend to make this crazy story even crazier.
So the letter goes on. First, and this is important, stay with me on this one. First, the investigation occurred immediately after extinguishing the fire. Salvage and initial overhaul preparations were completed. Fire investigators were from responding mutual aid departments assisted Flora Fire Department investigators. Their initial investigation determined one origin of fire starting behind the refrigerator, commenting the refrigerator as a possible cause. The firefighters who initially investigated the fire were from multiple fire departments located in Carroll County and were trained investigators from a former Carroll County Fire Investigation Task Force. Law enforcement reported later an accelerant was detected on Officer Yoder's clothing that was retrieved from the hospital. The accelerant detected could be from cross-contamination from the equipment he was wearing. The face shield mask and air fittings get cleaned and sanitized after every use. The bottle, straps, webbing, and cushions very seldom get cleaned from fire to fire. Cross-contamination could possibly exist between clothing and equipment. Investigation of house fire continues days after week. Basically, what is being said here is that, as I understand, this letter is telling us, at least the person writing the letter is telling us, that the only reason law enforcement determined that this was an arson is because of the accelerant found on Drew Yoder's equipment. But the accelerant on that equipment could have been from a previous fire.
Oh, so there's a possibility that there was no accelerants at all.
That's exactly what I'm saying. And this could be completely wrong. I'm just, once again, guys, you should not believe anything I'm saying, because I'm just reading there's something on Reddit. Mm-hmm. And I could be wrong here.
Mm-hmm. That's very interesting, because
now it might seem that, okay, so I'm just gonna tell you, like, I was gonna read some more stuff, but I know everyone's gonna lose track, so I'm just gonna go out here and immediately tell you. Some people on the Reddit believe that there is reason why Josh Ayers, the landlord, would want to fabricate an arson because he would want to make the fire seem like an arson, because an arson is less suspicious than a regular house fire for him, because of the crazy insurance policy that he had taken just a few months prior. That's what I'm thinking.
And why would that be? Why is arson way less suspicious than a regular house fire?
Because arson already has a criminal investigation, and I think he gets the payout.
And if it's not, then there would be some sort of like,
oh, did you
didn't do a good job checking all the wirings and all.
Yeah. Or I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't know what I'm talking about. Also, I would like to say that Josh Ayers, according to this letter, is the owner of Flora and Delphi True Value Hardware Store. And he provides used appliances he receives from customers throwing out their old appliances to his rental properties.
I just have to say, this guy is way too powerful in that small town.
I think he's just a business guy. Honestly, I'm not gonna say he's too powerful. I think what he's doing is probably hard work. I'm not gonna lie. It's like takes a lot of like effort to organize. I think he inherited the something here because he's like a fourth generation citizen, so he has a lot of like inherited wealth already in Flora. But I think that's how it is. Like I think one business kind of like leads into another. So he allegedly has a hardware store where he, according to the letter, that could be completely fake. So don't take any words out of it. This could be like literally Josh Ayers' enemies like writing this letter. But according to the letter, he uses used appliances in his rental properties, and
Honestly, I could see it happening.
And one of the used appliances caught fire.
I could see it happening. Can you see it happening?
And now he's trying to divert it into like it was an arson. It wasn't a used appliance.
Can you see it happening though?
I will put it out here, my opinion. I find it very hard to believe how this guy would commit murder. But I don't put it past this guy potentially. There's a possibility of him to somehow maneuvering his powerful position in the town to kind of cover up some improper appliances.
Yeah, I agree with you.
I don't think he looks to me like a killer who would just kill for money. But
kids at that.
Kids, yeah. I don't think he's a killer. I don't get that vibe. But I wouldn't put it past this guy trying to somehow maneuver himself out of a potential legal problem.
I do agree. I do agree with you that I also don't see him having this intentionally kill for
just to get
children.
This crazy insurance policy money.
No, I do think he's kind of sleazy in a way.
I don't think he's, honestly.
Oh, come on. What he did was kind of sleazy.
Yeah, if that's true. It could be all fake.
That's
It could be all fake. He could be like putting in the newest stuff in there, and this letter is all fake. I'm just literally reading a letter on Reddit. Like, there's nothing less credible than an anonymous letter on Reddit. It's like the most incredible piece of information I could ever put out there. And we're still doing it because we have to talk about something. So that's it. I'm looking at if we have some more stuff here.
Man, this case is crazy.
Actually, we have way more stuff here, and I'm not even going to go into the more stuff. I'm just going to give slight hints about the more stuff. Someone mentioned something about Drew Yoder, one of the officers, being conveniently at a lot of fires. So I'm not even going to touch that.
This case feels crazy in some sort of like a political, legal-ish way.
Yeah, I'm just gonna. I feel like for this one, I think there's definitely enough stuff here to go back into this case and maybe like focusing on separate issues of the case. I would say that I would like to probably cut the topic today because we do have a lot. I will say this: it's crazy unfortunate, in my opinion, that the 4 girls at Flora, they were forgotten by the media, and I think it's wrong. And I do see some media outlets that were pushing hard, but I feel like the media outlets that were out of towners, pushing hard the Delphi case without even ever considering the case of the Flora 4,
Maybe they just didn't know about it. Didn't hit their radar.
Potentially, but I mean, you are the media. Like, it should hit your radar.
But then again, the small town politics is kind of weird.
Kind of strange things happening in this case. Yeah,
there could be some cover-ups, maybe.
Maybe, but it's all weird. This is like, I feel like in general, when we do a case, we have like pretty concrete stuff that we're working with, and we just talk about some pretty concrete stuff, and then we're probably coming out with like a conclusion that everyone else has. We just end up talking an hour about it, and then we have the same conclusion and everyone else. And this one is like different because I feel like we have no concrete information, we know just the bare basics of what happened, and there's so much talk and so much different opinions. And let's see if our audience have something to say, and if there's enough interest, we could come back eventually and
for a part 2.
Yeah, for the part 2, maybe dig into something specific if we can do it. But yeah, just wanted to kind of do this. Thank you very much to our wonderful listener, Mr. Neon, for suggesting this one. It was a huge rabbit hole, but we talked about it, and man, hopefully we get justice for the victims.
Definitely. I do have to say, amazing research. You really went down the rabbit hole.
Just a bit. Just the tip of the iceberg. Trust me, this is nothing. There's way more happening on the Flora 4 subreddit. If you want to check out more speculation, you could always go there. Thank you guys, and we will talk to you.
Let us know what you think, and we'll see you very soon.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.